What's up guys, Jake Hunt from Fitness Culture. Today we're going to be going over how to master the Pro Agility. So the Pro Agility is a drill that's measured at high school and NFL combines. I've helped a ton of high school athletes and a ton of college guys going into the NFL master this drill. And there's basically 3 things that we're going to go over that you need to be able to do to really perfect the drill and make it so that when you practice it, you get better every time that you do it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is basically your body positioning, because this is one of the biggest, most important things when you're coming out of the line, that a lot of people don't set their body up for the line. So we're just gonna go over that real quick and some things that you can do to help your body positioning while you're touching the line. All right, so the biggest thing that you wanna think about when you set up for any change of direction, especially when you're doing a shuttle type of a drill, is how your body is set up when you approach the line. So some of the fastest guys that I've ever worked with have the biggest problem setting their body up because they are moving so fast, and so all they're thinking about is running fast, and then they're gonna take a bunch of choppy steps before they turn around. By the time they get here, their body's leaning this way, they gotta touch the line, transition out to get away from the line, right? So that's where you lose the most time, okay? Running in between the cones doesn't matter as much as transitioning out of the line. That's where you're gonna save the most time during this. So the thing you wanna think about is when you're coming into the line, you wanna already set up getting your body leaning away from the line. So when you come into the line and touch, you're already moving the other direction. All right, so the first drill that we're gonna do that we use with all of our athletes, kind of to give them an awareness of where they are when they approach the line, is just gonna be a side run and basically pause at the line drill. And so what we're focusing on here is they're gonna set up in a nice athletic stance. You're gonna do a side run and then pause at the line. And so notice how my body weight is away. I'm paused at the line, and then from there you can kind of see where you're at. If you're here on the line, obviously that's gonna be in a bad position. You're gonna have to transition back before you get away from the line. So you wanna set up for when you touch the line to be here. We usually do sets of about 6 to 10 reps, and all you're gonna be doing is running, pause, set up away from the line. So it's basically just a body control drill. It's gonna teach you where you're sitting every time that you touch the line. The next thing we're gonna talk about when you're setting your body up is kind of how to touch the line. And I learned this technique from Chad Ike when I was training for the combine. And basically they found out that when you approach the line, guys are getting faster times if they didn't open up here to touch the line. But basically you try to not get to the line and you're gonna turn away. And what that's gonna allow you to do is set your body up to go the other direction. You can warm up and get used to doing this by just kind of shuffling back and forth into the line. Kind of look where you're touching and see what it's gonna feel like to really do that to get away from the line. So once you dial in your body positioning, the next thing we're gonna talk about is gonna be your setup for the drill. So number 1 is you wanna try to hug the line to that direction as much as possible. And now they're not gonna let you get away with doing this, obviously, but just a little bit. If you're splitting the line here, just give yourself just a little bit, right? Any advantage is gonna be better than nothing. So you'll set up, stagger just barely to the direction that you're going. From there, you're gonna sit down, load your hips basically. Your weight's already on this foot, so you're gonna come across your body, get as much distance as you can on that first step, because that first step is gonna set you up to be able to immediately change directions and go back the other way. So what you wanna be thinking right from that first step is thinking about turning the other direction the entire time. The next thing, and probably the most important thing that people don't work on, is the steps for the drill. So if you do the exact same steps every time, it's gonna set you up to get better every time. If you don't work on your steps and you don't know how many steps you're gonna be doing, and I've seen this with a ton of different people, there's a good chance that every time that you line up to do the drill, you're gonna get a different time. And the reason that is because especially when you got a real fast guy coming into the line, everyone pretty much sets up and does that first touch almost the same, unless you haven't done this drill very often. But the big thing is coming out of that first touch, a lot of guys are here and they're all out, right? They're running so fast and it causes them to take a ton of choppy steps, and every time their steps are gonna be different. So their setup to the line is gonna be different, and then they come through the line, right? So it allows you to dial it in so you're coming out of that transition perfect every time, and you're not risking overspeed, turning at the wrong moment, because really a lot of guys will just say, start turning your shoulders once you get past that first cone on that second touch. And that could mean you're turning your shoulders here and it works out perfect once. And then maybe you're moving so fast you came out of the line weird, and the next time you're not turning until here. And so you're taking all these choppy steps and your transition is gonna be super slow, right? Instead of gambling and not practicing the steps, we practice the same steps every time, and that way it allows you to perfect the drill and then get faster and faster and faster once you perfected the drill. So you perfect it and then you make it faster. So practicing the steps is probably not going to increase your athleticism a ton because you're just practicing a drill, and that's not how you ever change direction in a sport. And we know that, but the goal here is to do great at this drill. And so by practicing this, it's not going to take a ton of time. You can do this before you work out, practice a few reps, and then get into your workout, right? It doesn't take a ton of time to get good at this drill if you're a good athlete, but it's really, really important to perfect these steps. All right, so the steps on this drill, it's gonna look like this. You're gonna take 4 steps to that first cone, 6 steps to the next cone, and then you're gonna finish through in 3 steps through that last cone and run all the way through. So you'll set up, you're gonna open up 1, 2, 3, 4 at the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2, 3, finish through. If you're on electric time, which most of the combines now will be, then it's just gonna get you when you come through the line. If you're on a hand time, really make sure you're hugging the cone and you dip when you come through the line just to get that guy to hit the button. So now I'm just gonna break it down through every touch really quick. So the first one is a 4-step touch. So the biggest thing to think about here, your first step is gonna open up. So you wanna take a big open step, and then from there, you're gonna transition your body back, 2, 3, 4, touch the line, all right? So basically that first step is the only step where your hips are gonna be here, and then you're gonna transition your hips back with the other few steps right off the bat. So for the next touch, your second touch, you're gonna set up out of the line, come back, 1, 2, 3. Make sure that you're past this cone. You have to be past this cone in 3, then that'll set you up. You only have really 2 more steps to make sure you're ready, because it's gonna be 4, 5, 6, and that 6 steps is a touch step to come back the other direction. All right, and then that last transition, you're just gonna come out of this line, you're gonna be here, and then from there, you're just gonna open up and try to make it in 3. So it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, past the line. Your first step needs to be big and powerful. Your steps out of that transition are gonna be big, driving, powerful steps, and then you need to finish with big, powerful steps. Once you dial these steps in, it'll actually probably make you look like you're running slow during the drill, or basically that you're not trying, but it's just so dialed in that it's usually faster than everyone else in the combine that's doing it with you, right? So the first thing that I do as a coach, because I know these steps work so well when I have a group of guys, is I'll get everyone's time, and then I'll say, look, these are the steps, and I bet I can beat your guys' times by just running through it at like half speed, 3/4 speed. And almost every time I beat everyone in the group, just because it's one of their first times ever doing the drill, so they're not good at it yet. And obviously the steps are so efficient that they're just fast even at a jog speed. And so it gets everyone to buy in right off the bat. So if you're a coach, I would practice these steps if you're helping combine guys, and then that'll get them to buy in instantly. All right guys, so that's it on how to master the pro agility. If this helped you out, and if you tried this out and you got faster, leave us a comment, let us know. I appreciate it. I hope you get something out of this, and we'll see you next time.